I need to calm down. I am the exact right amount of upset about this. So, who doesn't love having an archer for scale? It happened with the STC, just bring a ladder. It's a bit of a nightmare. Like, they really should have spotted that. Maybe the park's been taken over and it's probably gone to crap since. You know who I'm talking about. Let me get this straight. The 1 week you decide to do the fade to black comment yourself, you've got nothing exciting to say. Chacho, you had one job. Hey everybody, how's it going? So welcome back to our realistic park in Planet Coaster, and welcome to episode 16 of Grosvenor Gardens. And guys, it's the final build episode, and I'm actually a little bit sad about it, I'm not gonna lie. But don't worry, this one is for you fellow nerds out there. As always, guys, thank you so much for the support for the series, even if you are finding us right at the end of it. This was the last episode. This is the B&M Surf Coaster concept. We talked a lot about this in the last episode. And next week, of course, is the Grand Tour. Now, that means only one thing. We need to add in all of the park support services. So we need to add in all the admin offices, the maintenance areas, the car parks, and, of course, the final touches to the park. So, yes, told you it was one for you nerds. The eagle-eyed amongst you will have already spotted something that's changed in this sightline. So we've got a slightly different format for this episode this week. I'm only going to be showing you things that are completed with each update. So, shall we go and take a look? Love it, love it, love it. We've got some flat rides. I mean, of course we're going to have flat rides. So this area is a bit of a weird area. I wanted this area to feel like it was the forgotten area of the park. And every single theme park, regardless to how super detailed and super themed it is, will always have a generic jank area that's been forgotten. Gardaland even has it. It's down the bottom by the monorail and down where Kung Fu Panda and stuff is. So this is what we're going for here. This is the area that would have been an extension to the original 80s area over in the Corkscrew, and never got updated when they put the surf coaster in this area. So it's sort of like half surf, half water, half 80s inspired, left alone jank. It's too small to do anything with, or anything like substantial with, so they've just left it as it is. We've got 3 rides in this area. We've got our flying ride. I think, is it Gerstlauer that make these? I think it is. I'm going to say it is. Why not? We've got our TriStar back. Do you remember the TriStar that was supposed to be in the Hyper episode? Yeah, it's back. It's found a home down here instead. And then a spinny spewy thing. I don't actually know what these are. These are in real life. But yeah, so I wanted this area to feel like it was sort of like it was left alone. So we've got the pink herringbone brick, you know, the classic pink herringbone brick. And we've got just generic janky fencing that's probably been repainted and stuff over the years. Like it's not a forgotten area in the sense of maintenance and stuff. It's just forgotten in the sense of being updated with themes and whatever. Like the park around it has built up, and this just never really got done. Decided to choose some really bold colours in this area. I wanted it to feel like it was still quite vibrant. And so that's why we've got all of these bright blues and the pinks and the purples and the yellows. And yeah, it's just a plaza area that I wanted. Now, I added in, do you remember this? Do you recognise this? It's from Reigate Lake. I added in the Cosmic Cow thing that I put, or the shop that I put in from Reigate Lake. And then just put a load of benches and stuff around just to fill out the plaza area. Again, I didn't really want much in here. I could have put massive like statues and stuff in here, but I just wanted it to feel like it was just thrown together. And plus, we don't really have a proper picnic area. We've got a load of areas where there's some pretty decent seating, but there's not really much in the way of picnic areas and stuff. I also, if you remember back to the B&M, which one? Which B&M? If you remember back to the dive coaster episode, I wanted to make a feature thing of this area here, and I didn't know how it was going to sit. Well, now I do. It's going to sit like this, and I've just lined it off with a load of plants and a load of planters, and actually, I love how this has turned out. You've got some really good sightlines of the 3 B&Ms that are right in front of you. The dive coaster here, the surf coaster here, the hyper coaster in the background here. Absolutely love it. I've also done some touching up as well along the path down here. I haven't actually done too much. I've kept this curb free. I've actually done that by design, because when I went to Legoland for their annual pass day, and I sort of spotted some of their pathing and whatever, and I was like, actually, sometimes there's not a lot of effort that's made with these hill paths, and I kind of wanted to copy that across. So that's what I've done here. Also, it just means works out quite nicely that I don't have to do much effort, make much effort. And then what I've got at the back here is just some access to the backstage area. I put a concrete pad in here. I'm going to pad this out in the next update when I do the maintenance areas and the admin offices, right? So this is going to make more sense, but this is just a placeholder for me to remember to do something in this area. It makes sense that this would be a bit of a turning circle and stuff, and an access point to the park. And of course, the access road is going to come around this way, and it's going to continue around this way. So I just need to get all of that done. It's not the only area I finished either. Let's go and take a look elsewhere. Around the back here. What do you reckon's changed? You probably can't even notice it. It's this area here. I purposely left this in the previous episodes because I just didn't have any inspiration to finish it. I was like, whatever. But it's done. It's finished. And I kept this really, really, really simple. So this area here was a bit of a... I did snooker myself with design. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to bring this to life. Then came the decision of not making stairs here, and actually that kind of fed what this area was going to be. So what I've done, I did have some really unsightly pathing going on here, and there's some curbing and stuff, so I've hidden it with a flower bed that's got a little bit of a pattern and stuff to it. It would be a well-kept flower bed. And then I had a terrain change here, and this whole area just didn't feel right. So what I've done is I've made this a step. This at the back here is still a ramp for our disabled friends, for our wheelchair users. But this here is a step, and it feels like that's how it would be. Gardaland actually has one of these as well, and I even remember thinking to myself, I don't know why that's like that, but hey, it is what it is. So I put a step in here and then carried on the herringbone brick up here. Now, I didn't want this to be the pink herringbone brick. This was the white because we chose it because of the stucco and stuff. So this all completely makes sense now. And then what I've done is along here, I've just added a load of foliage and a load of trees. I've put the cypress trees in because this seems to be used quite a lot around the park elsewhere, so I thought actually it would be good for a consistent design if we actually have the cypress trees and stuff coming along here. I fenced off all of this area up here, tidied all of this up, so this is now looking much better. I actually think I'm going to keep it open. I did think about burying it off with trees and stuff when I was doing this bit here, but actually the park area needs to breathe, so I've just left this as it is. And you've got some really awesome sights of the trees, really awesome sights of the coaster and stuff as you're walking down here, and I didn't want to block it with trees, so that's what I've done. That's what I've done there. Whoops. Coming to this way then, I've just put a perimeter fence along here. There would be a second perimeter fence, toying with the idea of not doing it, just because, you know, you have to know when to stop. So I think I might just leave the perimeter fence here. And then tidied up all of the foliage and stuff here, so this is all now done. And you'll have also noticed that this road now completes. So it wasn't in before, it now completes. And the terrain is done. Look, I've done the terrain. Before it was flat. So when you had this airtime hill and the turnaround, it was just flat land and you could see sky. And it had no context to how I was trying to achieve the lack of height. Remember back to the hyper episode when I was like, it doesn't need to feel dominated, and I don't want it to feel dominating on the sightline. This is how the hills have come up behind it now, and it now has removed some of that dominance, but it's still there because it's above the trees. So this is the sightline I was working towards the entire time, and I'm so chuffed. I just need to go back and put the maintenance areas in, so I've not done any of the trees and stuff along here yet. There's going to be a maintenance area that's going to sit in here. I think there's going to be one that sits over here. I've put this is going to be the main one. I've put the pad and stuff in already, and that's purely because you've got this road that comes down here. You've got another road that comes down here, and then it comes around the outside. And then, of course, at the front here, we are going to have our admin building. So that's next on my list. I'll see you in a minute. Alright then, you guys, this is a sight you don't see that often. It's an entire full park, and it's starting to really come together and starting to be completed. I didn't realise, because it's just been expanding over the last couple of weeks, it's bigger than Chatrolandia. I had no idea. And you can see all of the little hubs and all of the little maintenance stuff that I'm starting to put in. This is the big one. I'm going to come to this at the very end of this update, but I'm going to show you around everything. And before you start making comments about how big the maintenance areas are, they don't have to be big and sprawling like you find in the US. If you have a look at Gardaland, it's a really efficient park. It's a park that's massive but has really small maintenance areas because they use the park area efficiently. You know, like the individual roller coasters and stuff will all have storage areas that most of the stuff you'll find over in the US in warehouses would be on parks. So we're going to start down here. I'm not triggering you this episode, by the way, because I'm just going to get straight on with it. But just to let you know, the game does keep crashing, so I've had to scale back what I'm doing quite a lot. But ultimately, we start down here. This is the goods in area. So this is where everything begins its life in Grosvenor Gardens. So I've kitted it out and cluttered it out with a load of stuff, right? But this would be where things like deliveries for ride parts, or deliveries for track, or deliveries for stock and new equipment and all of that would all land here first and then get distributed around the park. It gets checked in at the gatehouse here, and this is kind of the issue that I've got. I've been editing the gatehouse quite a lot, and the game keeps crashing here, so I'm not going to bother kitting this out. I'm just going to leave it as it is, because I'm starting to think maybe it's something to do with the gatehouse that's making the game crash, so I'm just going to leave it. Don't touch it. It's fine. So it's a conscious decision to not kit it out. But then you've also got the recycle bin area here. I just need to do some cluttering up and stuff and some messing up. But this is ultimately where all of the rubbish would come and get stored and then get shipped out and taken away from the park. So these two would be together, because you would check in and out all of the recycling and stuff in the gatehouse, and then of course you'd have all of the storage down here, and then this is the access road coming in this way. I am going to show you what the access to the park is going to look like when I do the car park, because there's going to be an exit here and ultimately an entrance down here. So, but I'll talk through that when I do the car park, because I need to sort of sort it out. So then you come through the access roads down the outside of the park, and then you've got this maintenance area here that's got direct access to the park here, so you can get into the park and service this kind of area from this gate over here, and you can come around this access road up to a hub up here. So this would be something like the ride maintenance area. This is where all of the collapsed trains would come to be serviced every year, all of the ride parts and all of that sort of stuff. So again, I've just cluttered this area out with all the usual stuff that you would typically find. You'll recognise the warehouses. I've used them in multiple parks before. You know, Chachalandia had them. I think possibly Fundy Fun Spot had them. I'm kind of going by the principle that if I've got them on file, then just use them. Why bother wasting time and inspiration trying to design new warehouses when you've got perfectly good ones that you could just reuse? So I'm going with that principle. And because of the game crashes and the scaling back I'm doing, I haven't done the insides of any of these. I mean, they are kitted out ready for you to do if you want to. You've got office space at the top here and stuff. But no, I'm not touching it anymore. I'm just scaling it back and just hoping for it, hoping for the best. But this is the service area from this side. Like how this has turned out, actually. It's sort of like, it's just in the middle of nowhere, and it's away from the park, it's away from the hustle and bustle. If I just move the camera that way, you can't see the park from behind it, so therefore you can't see it from the park either. So it's perfectly hidden, perfectly acceptable. Then we're going to carry on coming around to the main maintenance road. You've then got service areas for our RMC and our mine train coaster in this area as well. And then I did realise that I actually didn't have access to service any of the guest areas along here. So what I've done is I've just put in an extra entrance, if you like, an extra thing along here, fenced it all off so it's enclosed, but now I've got the ability to service all of these areas and stuff, so this is all looking good. Then there's another hub up here, so this would be more of a retail hub. This would be where stuff like kitchen equipment and vending machines and signs and all of that would come in. So this is what I'm starting to kit out here. So you can see you've got vending machines there. It would be used for other stuff, you know, like storage of other little bits of crap and whatever that the park are trying to get rid of, but ultimately this is all the same. And then this is the whole principle behind it is this is another hub. Sorry, I've just waffled that bit. I don't even know if I'm going to edit it out. I might just leave it in because it's just fun to waffle, right? And then we come around the outside here. You'll notice, by the way, that I'm intentionally using a mix between curbed and uncurbed paths, because I did originally want these to be more of dirt tracks and tarmac, but it didn't feel right. It didn't work out right. So I'm using the difference between curbed and uncurbed. Whether I change it for the last one, I don't know, but I don't think I will. I quite like that it's mixed up. So then we've got an extra service area along here. This was quite important to have a separate service area because you've got all of the water treatment facilities and stuff up in this area. But because we've got the train station here, I wanted to have the feeling of an old service area that would have been used back in the day. And this is this bit up here, right? So I've just put a couple of sheds and a couple of stuff in here. This would service maybe the railway, some of the landscaping, the gardens and stuff all along here, but it wouldn't necessarily be used as much as perhaps it was. But the reason that it is still here is because we now have the access point that comes down into here and then comes down into this area down here. So it would still be used as a mini hub, but not as intensively as some of the other hubs that we've got, because it's not really servicing a lot. It's a couple of flat rides and it's a couple of other bits, right? So it's all fine. And we're going to come around this way. This is going to be the staff car park that's going to back onto the coach park that's going to be here. So this all is going to get done for the next update, because that's what I'm working on next. But we do come around to this area. So this is going to be another like entrance area. This is going to be where a lot of other stuff is going to be contained or going to be stored and whatever. So that's kind of where we're going for here. It's still visible from the from here, and I quite like that. I quite like that it is. I mean, I know I've taken the effort to hide it from other places, but sometimes it's just good to have it all out on show. Yes, that's what she said. And then, do you remember back in the couple of episodes ago where I was like, oh, the admin offices could be the old ticket area, and that would be such a cool idea. This is exactly what I've tried to do here. So this is an old ticket area that would have been stripped of all of its theming. It would have been completely gutted on the inside, and it's now an office area. So this is the staff car park, and I need to put some signs and stuff up, but this would be the staff car park, and over here would be the admin offices. Now, Gardaland uses as I said, the park space really, really efficiently. So there would be offices inside the park, and there would be back of house areas where people can go and rest and whatever inside the park. So the actual admin offices that would host people like HR, finance, marketing, and all of that are relatively small, and that's what we've got here. It's in this space. So inside here, it's the business reception. I think I might need to do a little bit of touching up going on in here, but this is ultimately a really bland corridor with a reception desk. And then if I come right this way, these are then, there we go. These are all offices, right? So if we come in here, here's an office. Ta-da! It's actually scarily quite like the Gardaland office as well, I'll be honest. It's not like it's based on it or anything. This one is also another office, kitted out very, very similarly. This is a meeting room, and then this is a wider office. There we go. I kind of wish I'd left the roof off, actually, so I could show you the inside. This is a storage cupboard that I've left blank, and this is a really bad example of a kitchen. So this is a really, really tight space, and yes, that's also what she said. This is a really tight space, and it's done by design. The Gardaland one is just the same. It's a really, really small, it's a really, really small kitchen. But it's kitted out with everything that you could possibly ever need. And remember, this is only servicing maybe 20 or 30 people tops. It's not supposed to be a big. A big area. And then just one final office completes the bit. And I've just put in this one. I've just put a bit more theming and stuff just from the other side of the park. So if we come back out into the main area, this would be reminiscent of how it would be. So these flower beds would have been here, and these would have been the original turnstiles. But what I've done here is I've put the staff gate turnstiles up instead. So we've replaced the old turnstiles with the new turnstiles, so it's just staff only. And now we come to what is the restaurant for all of the stuff. So if you remember back to Chacholandia, we did it in Chacholandia. We also did it in Reigate Lake, and we now have one in Grosvenor Gardens. But you'll notice that if this is supposed to be servicing the entire park, Chacho, isn't this a little bit small? Well, no. Hey, theme park bros, put your keyboards down, because if you look at Gardaland, which looks like this, that services the entire park, 3,000 staff, and it's tiny. It's proper tiny. So I can feel you salivating at the keyboard. Step away. This is perfectly fine. People would stagger their breaks. You wouldn't have everybody breaking all at the same time, and you would have multiple breaks going on throughout the day from literally 8 a.m. until probably 1 a.m. sometimes. So this would be a perfectly serviceable area. But just to expand on the capacity of the area, you've just got some seating and stuff outside as well. So you've got plenty of seating. And then we're going to come into this way. This would be the original pathway, and I wanted to give it a little bit of a mix of saying it's both old and new. So this bit has fallen into disrepair and they've fenced it off. They haven't actually done any work to it. They just let it overgrow and it's been done with it. But this one is more maintained. So this is the one that's going to lead down into the park. But ultimately, it would have come out. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this properly. It would have come out here and the path would have come down here. It would have split down into this area where you've got the corkscrew, or you would have carried on. Oh, I've just pressed T and it's not changed the camera. Or it would come down into this area where you now see the B&M dive and whatever, but that would have been the gardens and stuff. So, yeah, so that's kind of like the feeling that I wanted to go for. But then, of course, at the same time, if I can get down that far without messing up for the trees, there you go. At the same time, they've also tried to hide it from the guest view because it's not very sightly. It's not very kempt. It's just, it is what it is, right? So you can look up the stairs, but you can't really see where it leads anymore. But that would have been, in the golden days, that would have been the entrance to the park, and you would have had a second set of stairs coming down sort of this way, and being done with it. So let's go back up to the top. There you go. This is your final view before it's all going to be completed, because next is for you car park nerds. Let's do it! Oh, you guys, I'm trying not to make this sad, but it is a little bit sad because it's 16 weeks in the making and it's been a labour of love. But may I please welcome you to Grosvenor Gardens. And this is exactly how I wanted it to be. I'm so chuffed with the final product. There is a little bit of touching up that I still need to do. Members of the community are voting at the moment on the flat ride names. So that'll be in time for the tour. There's a small bit of touch up that I need to do. I'm not going to show you those in this update because you need something relatively new to look at in the tour. There's nothing major new coming. It's just some tweaks and some touching up. But yeah, this is Grosvenor Gardens at the top. It's just... so good. Right, let's talk car parks because you nerds are here for the car parks. Guys, just to let you know, the game is really unstable. I'm now on my 14th crash and the game takes an hour to reload. Doesn't take a mathematician to work out that I've lost a lot of time in just loading saves. So I've stripped back the car park completely. It's nowhere near as detailed as I wanted it to be, but it's done. It's good enough. I've gone for good is good enough. So the car park is deliberately badly designed. It's got two entrances. There's one up here where you come into this way, and this is where your coaches and your overflow car park and everything would come in. So they would come along this way along the top here, and then they would come up through here. There's the drop-off area here, and then here are the coaches. There's no lines in the coach park. We've talked about this in Chachalandia, in the fact that coach drivers and everybody would actually play Tetris quite happily without the lines, so they know how best to park their coaches and how best to align their buses and stuff, so you just sort of leave them to it, and this space is way big enough for what they're trying to do. It looks really small on screen, but trust me, you can fit best part of 100, 200 buses in this space. It doesn't look like it, but I promise you can. Then you've also got the staff car park back here. It's the same area as Gardaland's is. It's not the same shape, it's not the same size, and it's not as landscaped as Gardaland's, but it's the same size. So roughly the same size park, same size car park. And then coming down this way, the exit then would come, for this car park specifically, would come around here, and then it would come through here. I'll zoom in so you can see I have put lines and stuff on the road, just to sort of kit it out. Again, nowhere near as detailed as I wanted it to be, and I've deliberately kept all of this stuff blank. Placing trees is a bit of a nightmare, so I've just kept it, I've kept it without foliage and stuff. I'm sorry, I hope you can forgive me for that. I just don't have any time. So anyway, the exit would come down this way, and I did have plans to move all of this, so it made sense, but again, the game's not going to let me do it, so it's fine, it's done. And then coming over this way, the entrance strategy would be a road that would be down here, so you'd have a roundabout here, you'd have a roundabout here, so the cars would come in this way, and then you get funneled down towards the left hand side, and you get funneled down into the different rows this way, and then when you are ready to leave, then you come down this way into the barriers and then away down this way. If you have a look at Gardaland's car park, you will see just how poorly designed that car park is. So the purists amongst you are going to be looking at this going, you'd never see this in real life. You know, this is not a real thing. This is just made up and you just rush this. Trust me, go and look at Gardaland's car park. This exists in real life. It's an awful car park. And when you're not used to driving on the right-hand side of the road, all I can say is just don't. Right, guys, let's do a real quick recce tour of the park in its completed state. Again, this is not the final tour, so there's no real spoilers. This is all stuff that you've seen built. But here's your entrance area. This is your area that you're going to come into, where you get your tickets, your turnstiles. You've got a couple of restaurants and stuff. You've got the Sea Life or SeaWorld or whatever you want to call it, the sea centre. This is your aquarium. That's on the right-hand side here. And then you're going to get to the very end, and you're going to get the chance to have a look out across the entire park. Look at this view. So good. Like, every coaster has a place on the sightline, and it's absolutely spot on. Like, the dive coaster just gets swamped by everything around it, despite the fact that it's the second tallest coaster in the park. And then you've just got the corkscrew coaster that's just peeking through the trees. You've got the hyper in the background that's just there. And then over this side, you can have a look over at the Mine Train coaster, and then you've got your RMC, you've got the log flume that's in front here, and you come over here to the STC. I don't know if I've got the STC running, actually. And then you're over here for the Pioneer. I love it. Like, this is exactly as I wanted this sightline to be. I wanted it to be dominating, and obviously you're going to see all of this from Tegid Cam point of view, so the guest point of view in the big tour. So then we're going to come this way to the kiddies area, where you've just got some flat rides and some stuff going on in here. And we've got our Pioneer coaster, which is very much themed around adventure and jungle and all of that stuff. We come over here, and we've got the STC. So I've actually stopped this running because it doesn't run properly anyway. So I need to sort that out in time for the tour. But the STC is sitting here in our mildly Canada area, and it's what looks like a massive building on the footprint. And then we come over here, and we've got our RMC. Sitting lovely on the side of the hill, and of course you've got the hill that comes through the background here. This was our medieval kind of area that we put together, so it one supporting ride in here. Yeah, I love it. So we've got that sort of medieval area. Then we come up this way, and we've got the mine train and into the western area. Obviously the theme between Canada, medieval and western is blending from one to the other, but then so you've got the mine train coaster here, and then at the top you've got the very industrial looking monstrosity of the hyper coaster that's here. Some awesome views of the park as you're looking back this way, right? Just some amazing. I need to slow down because you need to actually be able to take it in, because YouTube is not going to like the detail that's on this. It's going to pixelate the crap out of this. So yeah, you get some really decent views from the back here. Okay, so then we're going to come down into the pirate area. So here we've got our B&M dive coaster. So there you go. That's our B&M dive coaster with our splashdown, and it's a new shape B&M as well. So this is awesome. And then you've got the Mack multi-launch coaster that's in the bottom here. Yeah, really low profile, really low to the ground, really speedy, snappy turns and transitions and stuff. And if we come down this way, you can see how that sits just on the profile. It looks very much like Colossus at Thorpe Park, and that's the whole idea. That's the intention. And then if we just spin around this way, we come back to here, and then we have our shooting dark ride that we've got. So we're gonna go through that in detail. And then of course you've got the tiki bar that caused all the controversy in the early days, sitting nicely on the top, and it's just all hidden in the sightline. So remember back to those episodes when I was like, this is all going to make sense, and all of the landscaping and stuff is going to make sense. It now makes sense, right? So I'm hoping you can now see what my original plans for this whole area were. And then we've got the Rapids ride. So here we go with the Rapids ride. So this is, again, it's fed into the side of the hill, so you don't really notice that there's much of an elevation change between this point and this point here. You don't really notice it because that's how it's supposed to be. It's just really well landscaped. Better than I thought I could ever do, believe it or not. And then coming over here, we've got our surf coaster. Mildly controversial, actually, as it turns out. But hey, it doesn't exist in real life, so I don't care. It's built within the confines of B&M's book. That's all that matters to me. So yeah, that's fine. Loving it. Surf coaster over here. We've got a new area that we've added with our flat rides, our supporting area, all looking very fresh and very bland, and that was the intention. We've got our 80s inspired area. This is the original part of the park that we had. So we've got our corkscrew coaster in here. We've got the Plomple Pop clone over in the back, and then you've just got the supporting rides and stuff in this area in the middle. So it's looking so good. And then we come down this way, and this is the last bit, this Temple Shack. So there we go, that's our log flume. That's very much inspired by Chiapas, whatever. The log flume at no, not Gardaland, the other one. Fantasia Land. Yeah, so that's all in there. I think this is probably the biggest build that I did. Most detailed build. And it turned out well. I like how, yeah, I do like how it did. So this is it from the top. This is, once again, Grosvenor Gardens. Guys, this has been 16 weeks, and I've loved it. Thank you so much for coming along for the ride. I really do appreciate it. Let's do another one, shall we? Just not yet. I need to do a channel update. I need to, because summer's coming. If you're watching this sequentially, summer's coming, so I need to think about what I'm going to do for the summer, tone down the work, because this is a lot of work that goes into this. So I need to tone down the work. We'll come back and we'll do another big park in the autumn, but there's going to be stuff in the middle, I promise. I'm not going anywhere. So, but yeah, thank you so much for joining me for this one. Guys, I'll see you next week for the big tour, the Tejikam tour. What does it look like from a guest view? Love it. I'll see you next week. Until then, take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.